Today I want to share with you a Trello template that I created for a recent project that I'm going to be using with learners. Hello and welcome to In the Classroom, an educational podcast making teaching and learning more transparent. My name is Benjamin Stewart at benjaminlstewart.org, and today is July 18th, 2021. Before we get into today's topic, if you have any insights, comments, suggestions about what I discuss here today in this podcast, feel free to reach out to me at my Twitter handle at BNLEEZ. Or if you want to be a part of the Discord community, you can access the link at my website at benjaminlstewart.org. Today I want to share with you a recent video that I created, and you can access the video. If you're listening to this podcast, you can access the video in the show notes. But I created a template in Trello for helping students work through two projects for a discourse analysis course. This course is a 5th semester subject for students who are who are enrolled in a BA program in English language teaching. And so the topic is discourse analysis, and there are two projects that are scheduled for the 16-week course, and there is going to be a template that each team will be starting with. And today I want to share with you the organization of the template. Again, probably best to check out the video if you want to see a visual component and actually access the template itself. I'll include a link to the video as well as the Trello template. And again, if anyone has any feedback about the template itself or has any additional questions about the course or how we're going to be developing the projects, feel free to reach out to me. So without further ado, here's what I plan to present to the learners as it relates to the Trello template. For those of you who are taking discourse analysis, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about this Trello board that I designed for the projects that we're going to be completing for this semester. We'll be talking about Trello and getting set up at the beginning of the semester. The first day of class, we'll talk about how to get started. But I wanted to show you this template that we're going to be using. And as you divide up into your teams, each team will be using or will have their own board that they'll use for the purposes of completing the project. So here we see in this board, we have different lists. We have a brainstorm list, to-do list, and so on. Within each list, we have what's called cards, and these cards can be moved around. We can open up each card, and there are a lot of different options that you can, that you have access to. We'll get familiar with these cards as we get into Trello a little bit more as we get into the semester. So we have cards within lists, and then we have lists within our board. Now, here the first three lists, the brainstorm, to-do, and done list, these are going to be primarily the lists that you'll be using as you are completing your tasks, as you're creating tasks for your project. This will be specific to your team in terms of which cards you add and which activities you're going to be doing specifically as it relates to your project goals. The rest of the list, starting with the list called goals, roles, audience, situation, and products, and standards, these are the different lists that you're going to be using as you get started in your project. And they may be some lists here, or there may be some cards or information here that you access while you're completing your project. That's also possible. But for the most part, most of these cards will be completed by the team at the beginning of the process. Once you begin the project and you're coming up with your project goals, you're determining the roles that you're going to assume as members of your team, as you're determining the audience, the target audience for your project. You're going to be thinking about your situation or context, and you'll be thinking about the different products that you're going to complete or the performance that you're going to complete for your project. That information will be located here. And also the standards or the criteria based on the way that you're going to be assessed for completing the performance or the project. This final list called resources, This is really more for informational purposes. If you're interested in the theoretical rationale for doing projects, that information will be here. It's not really directly related to your project, but since you are in a bachelor's degree program for English language teaching, your teacher trainers, then you might find this information useful. And also, since I'm going to be sharing this publicly, this will be included in my description, maybe in another video or a podcast where I will be sharing the same information, but more towards the general public. So these are the cards we're going to be using. There might be a need for an additional list between the to-do and the done list, and this is going to be optional. If you need to create any lists, any additional lists that are not currently presented here in this template, you can add a list by going all the way to the right of your screen, and you can give it a name. I'm going to call this pending or maybe a waiting list. And we can click and drag and bring this over here. Probably best to put it between the to-do and done list. Let's say I want to put this in all caps. We can do that. And if you want to get creative, you can add an emoji. Okay, whatever emoji you want. And then you can start to add cards as you need to. Right? If you need to delete, you can always just go in and archive the card. Okay, so it's a very flexible platform, and this might be necessary if you have some tasks that you've basically completed, but maybe you're waiting for approval or you're just waiting from someone else before you can finalize the task before you move it to the done list over here. One more thing I'll mention, as this example that I'm showing you is specifically for our course, Discourse Analysis, I have some cards here under the brainstorm that are going to be very specific to our class. The team charter will be something that applies to pretty much any team project, but here we have a card that's called Possible Discourse Analysis Topics, and I have included here some ideas, some examples of possible topics that you might include in your project. This, of course, will be something that we discuss in class at length, but I have a list here, a brief summary of the possible topics that you can consider for both the midterm project as well as the final project. Also, there is a copy of the GRASP's framework worksheet, and basically these lists, goals, roles, audience, and so on, these categories are taken directly from this worksheet. You can choose to open it up as a pop-up screen here, or you can open it up in a new tab, but this will show you an example of a performance task, essentially, or a project, if you will. And if you scroll down, there are some prompts that will help you think about developing each of these areas, each of these sections. I've also included these prompts in the template itself in Trello, but it's there for your review if you want to take a look at that. And also, here is a list of different roles or audiences, as well as products and performances. And so this is something we'll be talking about, but again, the list here is just to provide you some examples, some things that you might want to look at and consider to see which, if any, of these examples listed here in this worksheet will be something that would be appropriate for your project. So that's basically all I wanted to discuss in this initial video. Again, this is something we're going to be talking about at length in class. We're going to be working together throughout the semester, working in our projects, completing the Trello template, this board, by team. Each team will have their own board, and this will be a way that I can see your progress, that we can interact online and work together to complete a good project. You've been listening to In the Classroom, an educational podcast making teaching and learning more transparent. Thanks for listening.